Amid flagging tourism numbers, the LVCVA has released a splashy new ad campaign designed to bring people back to Vegas. And I think it's safe to say that the locals kind of hate it. So, why is that? Today on CityCast Las Vegas, I'm here with commentator and professional gadfly Scott Robin, aka Vital Vegas, and Shahab Zagari, an award-winning filmmaker and marketing expert at UNLV. And together we're going to break down where this campaign fell short and whether that should even matter. It's Tuesday, September 16th. I'm David Figler, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. Okay, fellas, personal critiques aside, I first want to ask, after watching that ad, and I've now watched it like the friggin' Zapruder film, what objectively and briefly is the overall message of the ad that was delivered? Shahab, why don't you go first?
I think what they were trying to get, first of all, thanks for having me. This is a blast, Love CityCast podcast. But to answer your question, I think what they're trying to do, and again, the key word is trying to say, hey, you can safely, the bet on Vegas is safe. You can come here, you can have a good time, everything is ready to go. Please come, visit. So I think that's kind of where they were going with that. I don't know, Scott, what did you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. The message is what it's always been. It's kind of like, look at this place with excitement, and it's an escape. And I mean, in the case of the ad, it's literally she's escaping her office to come to Vegas. A lot of the themes that have been done for the last, several decades of kind of like, it's, if you don't know anything about Las Vegas at all, this shows you that it's an exciting place where people dance a lot.
Well, first of all, I'm going to commend you both on your brevity and objectivity. Now let's get into subjectivity and the good, juicy, spicy stuff. What is your overall impression of the ad?
Now we're talking. So I had a fairly negative initial reaction. And the reason I had a negative reaction was it did not address in any way, and it even if it tried, it didn't do it well at all, the overriding conversation and the wave of negative press about Las Vegas related to value and related to nickel and diming and the changing perception of Las Vegas. I think their premise sort of was this ad campaign came into existence before all this negative press. I don't think it really holds water because at the LVCVA meeting, it was stated pretty clearly, this is a response to the negative sentiment out there and the negative media coverage. And in that regard, it did absolutely nothing to address it.
Yeah, I didn't have a good reaction to it, but not in the way that everyone else did. Everyone's reacting to, hey, you're not even showing the real Vegas, you're not showing, but that's, and I am a part of the local American Marketing Association chapter. We've had, LVCVA on several panels and speaking engagements. And the one thing that I've always, said, it's kind of a shame with the LVCVA is that they only focus on casinos and now it's casinos and athletics. Like, where's the nature? Where is the arts? Where's the local theater scene? Where's all the galleries and art that's going on? None of that ever makes it to any of the commercials, any of the billboards. So people saying, "Oh, this doesn't represent."
Well, I mean, but again, as beautiful as Red Rock is, until they put slot machines out there for the tourists to, load up, is it really going to ever be on the LVCVA's radar?
I wish it were. So that's my gripe, and that's what. But no, the reason I didn't quite think it worked is because the ad feels like a nod to this commercial that Spike Jonze did 7 years ago for Apple for the HomePod. Now, in that one, this gal, she's in this mundane existence. She comes home, and then her HomePod starts playing music, and her entire apartment changes into this crazy, surreal, almost painting, but everything had a reason to it. There was a reason when everything happened. In this commercial, The piano goes one way, she breaks through a wall. There's no reason any of that should happen. And so there was no motivation for any of it. It's just a bunch of gags. And so it fell flat for me.
Well, that's really interesting, and almost a nod to a friend of the podcast, David Rosen, who does a podcast called
Piecing It Together.
Piecing It Together. And I like that you drew a little inspiration in. Scott, I'm going to come back to you because, you shared your opinions, as you often do on social media. And specifically, I do believe your impression was singled out by the LVCVA. And I want to read you a quote from their CMO, their chief marketing officer, and get your response. And and you were actually quoted like in the Review Journal article where they were saying this is landed flat amongst the locals. And then you were the first one that they quoted. So here's what she said, quote, "Unfortunately, we did get off to a bit of a rough start where a few local loud voices became the dominant voice. It was disappointing that in our own backyard, we'd get these while we're trying to rally the troops to lean in to change the narrative of the destination." Scott, she is clearly talking about you. So are you a traitor to the cause of Las Vegas, sir?
Yes. No, I am fighting the good fight for Las Vegas. The LVCVA seemed to think that the overall reception was really, really positive. They did a survey, and it was one of the best rated creative pieces they have ever done in the history of video production. And I think they're making it sound like locals, but it's local media. And I believe local media is the most attuned to, because we live and breathe this every day. We know what's happening and we know what the challenges are because we're watching it. The folks in the Midwest who come to Vegas every 3 years who are being surveyed, they have no clue. These media outlets around the world that they did like 300 stories, right? And 5 of them were negative. Well, all those media outlets they were just cutting and pasting from the news release. Those media outlets are not engaged in this conversation. They're not frustrated by the sheer lack of creativity coming out of the LVCVA and R&R partners. And I think, Shahab is talking about there are a lot of aspects of the content that weren't addressed. But what about the creative itself? It's the same exact tone. There's not a single unique or original thing about it at a time when originality and creativity are needed the most. And I think that has to do with this comfortable relationship between R&R partners. Whenever they put out a call for potentially hiring other agencies, it's a joke. Nobody thinks anybody's going to replace R&R because of this cozy relationship. But that means they get to keep cranking out the same creative over and over, unoriginal. And so that's why I'm taking a hit at it. It's a perfectly fine ad if it's showing in Europe and there's dancing and singing, but there are legitimate challenges happening that have to be addressed.
So now the one thing that I would, let me
Go
just
ahead.
real quick say, just to give them benefit of the doubt, even though maybe I shouldn't, I think as a, filmmaker who does a lot of commission work, I've been pigeonholed where despite the fact that I want to be creative and I want to do something, the client is ultimately the one paying the bill and paying things. So was this a matter of, well, this is what the LVCVA wants, and so that's what we have to deliver? I'm not sure, but that could be, the reason why it's sticking to the same old, same old.
I think that's right. And it has to do with taste. The taste on the part of the LVCVA and its leadership to say this is good and this is bad. So whatever the agency brings, they're pitching ideas. Somebody at the LVCVA is saying, that hits the perfect note. We're going to spend tens of millions of taxpayer dollars on this idea because it's just so good.
And my sort of subjective take on the ad, it sort of parallels something that I saw online from somebody, and I don't even know who they were, but it stuck out. And they said, this is actually a great ad if you're living in the 90s and you're excited about going on a Carnival cruise. The hottest night of the year is back. AFAN's 39th annual Black and White Party taking over Chaos Nightclub inside the Palms Casino Resort on Saturday, September 20th. This year's Wild West-themed celebration is hosted by Frederick Godinez and Alexander Stabler of the design studio Frederick Alexander, and it's your chance to experience an unforgettable night of fashion, entertainment, and community. The entertainment for the evening is stacked. Simone and Mirage from RuPaul's Drag Race, Fantasy, David Hernandez and Kyle Koo from American Idol, the cast of Piranha and Gypsy Nightclubs, the Chippendales, and more. Proceeds support Aid for AIDS of Nevada's critical programs, providing housing, transportation, food, and medical case management for those living with or affected by HIV/AIDS. Visit afanlv.org to learn more and purchase your tickets today. That's afanlv.org. The Rita Dienan Abbey Art Museum presents RDA Performs. Its inaugural season of 4 intimate concerts where architecture, art, and music converge. With just 75 seats per performance, this boutique series transforms the museum into a resonant, living gallery of sound. The season's 4 live performances include piano portraits, a piano duet dialogue, ancient echoes, Baroque music and modern resonance, Broadway reimagined, and desert sounds, rain spell. Each concert offers a singular artistic expression where space, silence, and sound are part of the story. RDA Performs. It's a collaboration between the Rita Dienan Abbey Art Museum and international award-winning pianist Alexandria Lee, the series artistic director. For more information and to purchase a subscription series, visit ritadienanabbeymuseum.org. You know, the LVCVA CEO, Steve Hill, on Friday defended the ad, saying, yes, we have a national audience and we surveyed over 1,000 people, and it was amongst, quote unquote, the highest rated work ever produced by the LVCVA. He added it's too early to evaluate its effectiveness, but it is part of a commitment to a brand campaign. And he also defended being on TV because they're responsible for marketing Las Vegas, he said, and they have a budget to do that, and we think it's still important. So what's your take on that take?
Well, I believe they think that's the goal. I'm not, the casinos are ultimately the ones they have to answer to. And you're going to hear loud and clear, they are going to hear from the casinos. We won't. But if the tourism trend continues, there's only so much they can affect. I think Shahab is exactly right that a lot of this stuff is a political climate, economic uncertainty. I don't know what the LVCVA could do about that other than what they've done, which is, yes, we know you're cash strapped, but look at how exciting Vegas is. You need an escape. So they're kind of going after that, but the nickel and diming perception, these other changing views of Las Vegas, the negative press, they have to really go aggressively at it, and they haven't, because they're living in this bubble where I don't know if I mentioned this already, but the unfavorable responses when they surveyed people about that ad specifically, the negative sentiment was 1% to 2%. And if you can think of anything else, yes?
I'm curious.
Of that ad, I believe.
Of that ad, the negative perception of the ad was 1% to 2% of the people they surveyed?
1% to 2% unfavorable respondents.
Yeah, and I keep seeing this kind of amorphously being quoted, but are they releasing the actual survey? Or as my friend John Ralston says, did they give us access to the crosstabs and the actual questions being asked?
No, and I think that's really important because the context is everything. I'm not nearly as mad at the LVCVA if you realize, or if you believe this was not meant to address the negative press about Las Vegas and nickel and diming and the magic being gone. If it wasn't meant to address that, it's fine. It's not original or creative, but it's proficient. But the minute you put it in the context, hey, survey respondent, do you think Las Vegas is too expensive? Yes. Do you think this ad addresses that? Absolutely not. It would be a whole different set of reactions. But no, they are not putting this information out there. but it's significant that, and I think they should, because there's some very enlightening stuff in their survey that shows that maybe a quarter of people think Vegas is a worse value. 20% say it's a better value than it has been. I've never heard that information out there.
And how did you get this information?
That's not the kind of stuff we talk about.
Oh, wait. Do we have a scoop here? I mean, Scott, are you pulling this? Yeah, here's what Scott always says. Some more numbers that people are pulling out of their ass to support Las Vegas. So are you pulling these numbers out of your behind, or are you actually basing this on something, Scott Robin? The world wants to know.
Yes, I'm basing it on information that I have from not just a reliable source, from the source. I have people everywhere, and I think some of this is very strange. It's strange that they aren't putting it out there. I believe it's confidential because there's a competitive thing with other markets, I guess. I don't know why, but I think it's really enlightening, because if their survey says 40% of people think the value is the same as it's been, that's astonishing, because the minute you go online, if you do a survey, it's 99% of people think Las Vegas is no longer a value. They are mad. I'm never coming back. That 7% doesn't really reflect that, but that's the sentiment. That 7% is more about tariffs and visa fees and things like that. So It's a really complicated issue, but you know what doesn't address it? That ad. And if you put that ad in the context of the bigger campaign, because I do think they're trying feebly to deal with the value issue, and they're whipping up the casinos to give surprise and delight and greater value. I don't think it helps overnight, but I do think it helps because the conversation is being had.
That's very interesting, Scott. And I would hope that whatever confidential information you have, that the LVCVA does make it public. I won't hold my breath on that because, it's worthy of debate. This is an agency that uses public funds. But let's talk about the ad itself. I mean, we've got a bona fide award-winning filmmaker in our midst here. So let me throw it to you first, Shahab. I mean, what specific features of this video strike you as perhaps most noteworthy, and why? I mean, tell me what scenes really stand out for you of this 58-second ad.
Well, I think it was shot beautifully, and I think the cast and crew did an amazing job. That's one thing where, if someone discounts a movie and they say, it was the worst. Well, 150 people put their blood, sweat, and tears on that. Like, should you really discount it that easily? So it's really beautiful. I mean, gorgeous locations, amazing choreography. Trying to get the funny thing, like her carrying the boxer or whatever it is,
and the dancing really referee. The wildly dancing referee who looks like he might need some medical attention, but that's okay. It was funky.
Yeah, it has charm, but again, I think I would have been floored if everything that was happening had some kind of motivation, if there was some kind of story arc and not just, now we're at Circus, now we're over here, now we're over there. You should be listening to the lyrics and don't mind, I don't know. I think it would have gone a lot further than it did if, like that Spike Jonze HomePod commercial, everything that happened that was so surreal had a reason that it was happening.
And by the way, Shahab makes another great point. Did anybody actually read the lyrics to this ad? I
have them. I want to get to the lyrics in a second, Scott, because I wrote them down. God. I might even recite them as a slam poem right now.
Please do. Please do. Can I ask a question too, Shahab?
Yeah.
Mixed in with that, because I agree with David that it's great to just look at it as its own thing, but they hire people from LA to do these ads. Can we throw that into the mix of like the aesthetic or the talent or the quality, like why they can't find that locally? Sorry, David, I didn't mean to.
No, I think that's a great
point.
Question too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that Las Vegas in the 2000s or 2010s probably did not have the infrastructure to do something like that. And maybe even, you know, these casinos are locked in with these LA based agencies. And so that's a little bit of it too. But I think these days, I mean, we have locals who, either have moved here from other places or, born and raised that could do that video, if not better.
We're going to be talking about it perhaps in a special session of our legislature, that there is a lot of good local talent and it doesn't get tapped into. Even the wonderful singer, and I did promise people I will get to the lyrics, and I promise I will at some point. Might be a little bonus afterwards. But, there's this fabulous singer, this voice, Erin Allen Kane. She is legitimately a Grammy Award-winning artist. She's from Detroit. The actress who we see going through the narrative is not her. That's someone else, kind of lip syncing, from my understanding. That said, as much as I love her voice and I think that she is very, very talented, was there no one from Vegas or a Vegas figure that they could have employed as well? I just wonder if they're just a little tin-eared to, Vegas strong, Vegas forward, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see R&R and LVCVA tap into more local artists. We are the entertainment capital of the world. One example, there are others coming to us for our talent. So there's a current UNLV School of Music alum that was a student at the time. I think this was Super Bowl 2 years ago. A company stumbled on his TikTok account that has hundreds of thousands of followers and fell in love with his voice and hired him to be the voice for the song of their Super Bowl commercial. So if other agencies are tapping Las Vegas artists, I think we should do it as well.
And I guess that leads me to my next question. Why do you think Las Vegans are so up in arms about this ad? I mean, would someone from Orlando or Nashville or even LA be outraged at a similarly, let's just say, weak ad at the moment in time for their city?
Well, I think personally, I think people are upset because when tourism goes down, it affects their money. It's a very direct connection. So the people who are seeing a decline in tips, I've heard outrageous numbers that I don't think are true, but it's substantial, because when visitation falls, foot traffic falls, the business at myriad businesses falls. That has a cascade effect throughout the community because our community is based largely around tourism. So I think they want to see a solution. They want to see a positive step toward rectifying what's wrong. And if you can't do it politically, you could at least do it on this, the thing that the LVCVA is supposed to be the best at, which is shaping the public perception. It has to be based on reality. You can't say everything's great because not everything is great. But I think that's why people have had a somewhat negative reaction. The people who are engaged in the conversation have had a negative reaction because it affects their bottom line.
Yeah. And I'm going to leave just on this topic with one point. And I think that Scott and Shahab, you really summed it up, where we have a vested interest in how we're advertised to the world because we want it to be successful. I think everyone in this conversation and a lot of the commentators, we all love Las Vegas. That is a commonality, no matter what people say about us. And we want it to succeed, so we kind of want it to be better. And to me, they did break the one cardinal rule of any depiction of Las Vegas, and that is in the very last shot, they manipulated all of the iconic buildings into one space. So the Sphere and Resorts World and the Stratosphere and the Las Vegas sign are all in one small viewpoint, which is a physical impossibility. That's some Twilight Zone stuff there. All right. So
that's what happens in my head. It's all just one beautiful glowing thing.
Maybe. But, we hate it when we see it in a movie that they're at Circus, they walk in and now all of a sudden they're, at the
just
Luxor.
Like that Zack Snyder movie he just did with the zombies in Vegas.
Army of the Dead.
That map does not work. All of a sudden they turn a left. Now they're at the airport.
Oh, we're always gonna nitpick on that. I love that.
Real quick,
about us.
I looked it up. The Christian Shelton Super Bowl commercial was 2021, and it was for a little company called Indeed. So if Indeed can hire a UNLV student off of, their just based on their talent, we should be able to do it as well.
Indeed. All right. Well, without further ado, and I don't know if this is going to make it into the to podcast or not, I'm going to read the lyrics as quickly as I can. They're very short. Is this what life is meant to be? Could there be something more for me? I'm just a little curious. Is there something more fabulous? I need something to chase, something to melt this face. I need Las Vegas. It's too much and never enough. Oh, welcome to Fabulous. It's spectacular, outrageous, impossible stuff. Y'all stop and yell. Welcome to Fabulous. I think this trip is good for my brain. Stay out tonight. You'll sleep on the plane. A world of absurd, a place to combust. This is Las Vegas. Welcome to Fabulous. And thank you, gentlemen, for being on CityCast today. I love what we did. Anytime LVCVA, you put out an ad, we're here for you. I know. I mean, I wish y'all could see Scott Robin has his hand on his face and his head drooping as low as it can go right now.
I always want artists to melt my face, but that line is so cringy.
You know what? We've been talking about tapping Las Vegas talent. We need to start tapping talent for this aspect elsewhere. We need to stop relying on the same group of people because that's what this could have been done better by AI. And that's gross because that means these folks are out of touch and these words are insipid and they don't add anything. They don't sell, market, reframe anything. They are flaccid. It's gross.
Gentlemen, I really appreciate you being here. You two are genuinely fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us on CityCast Las Vegas.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And that's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, hey, go tell a friend. You could also rate our show, leave us a review. We could take the same criticism and subscribe to our morning newsletter. And don't forget, you can support this show and get some great perks by becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Till then, let Vegas melt your face.
Nice.